Hi everyone, welcome to the SaaS Playbook podcast. Today I have with me Chris. He is the CEO of Polar Stork. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thank you, Claire. Lovely to be here.
Wonderful. I think if we could start with just giving a little bit of an introduction to yourself, a little bit of what your business offers. I think that's probably a good starting point.
Sure. So my name is Chris. I'm the founder of Polar Stork, the founder and CEO. I would say I'm a very big entrepreneur. Tried to run and start multiple businesses over the past 15 years, and I'm a citizen of the world. I've traveled a lot, lived in different places, love languages, love meeting people. And I've been able to do a lot of this through Polar Stork. Very grateful into this adventure. I'm a technologist by trade, so more on the product side. So I'm a product manager. Worked initially as a freelancer, independent, working between development teams and startups, and then saw that there's a gap here. There's something that should be worked on, and that's how I spin out Polar Stork, trying to hire people who are really good at at different steps of the software development lifecycle and build an amazing team around which I'm able to deliver products primarily in the US, but also in Europe, in Asia, and around the world.
Wonderful, sounds super exciting. Christian, when we spoke previously and what I saw obviously when I was researching Polar Stork, one of the things that impressed me was your 90% employee retention rate, which is incredible. What is the single most important cultural or operational component do you think that drives that level of loyalty?
I don't know if there's one thing that can stand out, but definitely loyalty comes both ways. So it's not just people being loyal to the owners, to the company, but I think it's really on the mentality and the way you approach what a company, a group of people is. Not a business, but really a group of people working toward the same goal, which happens to be also generating revenue on the side. And I think that's been very helpful. I think also the same way you look at the team, it's a group of people, of human beings, and they need to understand why we're doing things, how we're doing things, and having a say in the matter. I understand also, I learned this the hard way, that it's not for everybody. This is the style that, that there are some people who like, very structured hierarchy.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you do, this is what your output is. But I have my mentality, my philosophy that's been applied at Polar Stork is really that you're part of the pack, the flock, but it works, and you have the opportunity to impact the way we move around, and people seem to like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's down to good communication and treating people fairly, isn't it? And making sure everyone feels included within that software development lifecycle.
Exactly. I mean, when I started this, I started a business where I wanted to work. So that's what the starting point.
Yeah.
The place where I want to feel that I would like to be a part of, an employee at, and that kind of drive over a lot of my philosophy, if you want to say so.
Can't go wrong with that, really, can you? Create somewhere where you would enjoy to work. If everyone had the same mentality, it'd be a lovely place. Moving on then, you mentioned seeing 30 to 40% efficiency gains through AI. So obviously AI is storming the businesses in the technology world at the moment. So could you give us an example of a specific process, perhaps in client delivery or internal operations, where the AI implementation had the largest, most measurable impact?
So I want to say it's primarily in the definition and different stages. My role is on the product side, defining the product scope, the user stories, and how things should operate. And I use primarily generative AI today to play the devil's advocate.
Yes.
I define my story, and for me it's important that I start. Whoever the human starts, and the AI plays the round of a bouncing partner. So that way I can look at this story from the different user role perspective.
Yeah.
So if you were the admin, how would you perceive this story? What do you think is missing? What kind of evolved with this? It helped me become become more comprehensive and also make sure that I'm able to involve or include the perspective of my end users, but also my team members before getting to the meeting where we discuss that. So it filters a lot, it does a lot of triage, and that's only on the writing section of things.
Yeah, and I have seen and I've heard a lot about generative AI that's coming in, automating processes, especially with looking at requirements, possibly then going on and writing user stories from that. I've definitely seen generative AI starting to be used more and more at that earlier stage of the development cycle, 100%. So, how do you vet and integrate new AI tools into Polar Stork's workflow without disrupting existing processes? What does the governance look like?
So the way it's funny, we had a workshop by the end of last year with or at least the key team members on how we want to integrate AI into each one of the processes. I noticed that there's been a haphazard use of AI by nature. People start using, using Copilot for the coding, using some Sora and some image generation on the design side, but nothing really aggregated. So the first question we wanted to ask ourselves is, how do we stay relevant?
Yes.
So how do we, as an engineer, as a designer, we stay relevant? Because AI is not here to take our job, but it's how do we collaborate? And it's not the top-down approach where the management would impose this is how we do things internally, but more of a bottom-up where how can it help you? How can it make your job easier? And how can it make you shine? We want the human, the creative element, the structure element come from the people in the end. So the way we did this is that we allowed people to experiment a lot and then make their case. So this thing is working for me because ABC, that's what the budget I need for. And I present this to the whole team because there's a lot of knowledge you can transpose.
Yes.
So the way that you approach it on the engineering side can benefit the designers or the team and vice versa. So it's been a very interesting evolution side by side.
So it's almost testing it on a small scale and then making sure it's something that you can expand on, I guess, across different departments, like you're saying, transferring that knowledge and those skills over.
Exactly. And the key is really to move fast. It's a technology that moves really, really fast. So try, give your opinion and move on. Don't spend, don't take like 4 weeks to get an approval. Okay, decide this, we stick with it for the next 6 years. No, we don't like it, we find something better, we switch.
And I guess that's the joy of AI is there's so many new tools coming out on a daily basis that you don't have to have it perfect and you can iterate it and on the product version you make it better and you tweak it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a joy and a curse at the same time because there's on one hand there's the research that's constantly happening and also there's a lot of fear of missing out, the FOMO, not using the right thing better, there's something even better. But in the end, I think it's a tool, right? So it's and in the end, you need to be able to get the best out of that tool, and you need to be comfortable with it. So that's how we're positioning it, if you want.
Sounds fantastic. So I know that you've got a new venture coming out. So do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about your new sister company? What was the tipping point that made you realise enterprises needed a dedicated solution for process optimization using AI?
So when we started working on a very big project for the largest equipment rental company in the US called United Rentals, building an app that allows them to place orders via voice commands. So connecting the voice with their mobile application, with their backend, with their system. And what you notice that, there's a part that is purely AI that allows you to leverage Gemini, leverage OpenAI technology and so on. But there's also an engineering part that is how you access data, how you structure data, how you combine this with the AI and the speed of it. And as we were building this, so we built different versions over the course of a year, and through a lot of discovery and interviews with other clients, we saw that a big blocker for larger companies is that we have an established system, we have an infrastructure that might or not be relatively old, and we need to interface with that. We don't want to put things away, but we also want to be able to ride the wave and leverage AI. So coming from a very strong, very dynamic startup-oriented technology background as Polar Stork, and building on this experience from the AI, we saw that there's a gap that needs to be filled in a thoughtful way, if you want.
Sounds exciting. So when you look at these larger enterprises, what is the most common operational chaos or bottleneck, that prevents them from scaling effectively, especially when onboarding new technologies or clients?
So that's a very good question, because I started working with startups initially a lot. And then as we evolved, we start working with like larger companies, United Rental, Siemens, Panasonic. And we bring with us along this startup mentality. What we've seen is that there's a very different definition of success. In startups, failure is part of the day-to-day. You stand up and you try again. And so you as long as you learn from the mistake or from the failure, it's a win. In larger companies, there's a lot of baggage, there's a lot of internal politics, a lot of history that slows this kind of this transition down. Also, being a much larger entity, it's harder to move everything together, so it takes a longer time. I think also they have a larger structure. There's a strong legal part to it, so the legal and the red tape also make things more difficult to navigate. Sorry.
No, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Maybe I just want to wrap this way. Like that, it's really it's an industry that moves really fast, and we mentioned earlier the fear of missing out, which also affects the larger companies because they move slower, and so by the time they start the process and get to the middle of it, it's already obsolete. So how to do this, and this leads to sometimes sort of a decision paralysis.
I definitely see that. Like you rightly said, there's red tape. They're a bit more cautious because they're doing things at a larger scale. But obviously, AI is moving so quickly. By the time they get the approvals in place, something new has come out to market. And what do? Implement something that's slightly older, or do they then go back into the approval status? I guess it's more difficult, isn't it, for them to move at pace than some of the smaller companies. In your experience, what's a common mistake back-to-back SaaS companies make when they're trying to scale their client delivery or onboarding process?
I think probably it's the definition of fast.
Yes.
Many people, I see this a lot with our clients. We want this shipped out within 2 weeks. And so you can ship things out, but then you would spend probably 2 more weeks to debug, and then you have like an unstable infrastructure that you need to stabilize, and you build on technical debt. But I think it's important to take the time. It's important to not to linger too long. So that's not my mentality. It's really the agile way of doing things.
Yes.
It's something that I've learned also from best practices. That would be kind of for me the key idea is.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that you onboard a client in one phase and that's it, good to go. You normally have 1, 2, maybe 3 phases where you might have your MVP, and then you build on it, maybe do a second phase. But it's a definition of speed, isn't it? You're right.
And planning.
Yes.
So the two parts that I see also a lot of clients, underestimate is the planning and the design phase. Because this is where you can change the fastest and the cheapest. And you have to take the time to challenge yourself, because once you get to the end and you want to make a change, it's going to cost you a lot of time, hence money and opportunity cost. Your product goes later to market, you might lose clients, you might drop your customer base, and so on. Yeah,
you're right. It's good requirements and planning out based on those requirements, isn't it?
Absolutely. Also one thing that I'm a big advocate of is the no and the challenging. So when a client comes to me with, I want to build this and this, why? Explain, convince me, and then we'll build it. But if there's something that can be challenged, let's challenge it again as early as possible. We have to be on the side of the client, not like taking a brief and executing it just the way it's written.
Yeah.
We're here to help them. We know the technology, they know their business, and so we need to collaborate and build together these.
And it's also making sure that they don't go into solution mode at the point of giving requirements. I think that can also be a very dangerous way, isn't it? If they know the technology in a certain amount of way, they can sometimes try and come to you with a solution rather than a requirement.
I do this sometimes also with my engineering team, when I tell them this is Chris, what do you want? Where do you want to get? Tell me where you want to get, and then I'll get you there. And the same way I do also on the level, on a larger level with my clients. Where do you want to get? Yeah. And then we'll pave the way together.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
Yeah, 100% see that all the time. Looking at the future state of Polar Stork today, what is the one metric you are most focused on improving in the next 6 to 12 months, and why?
So there's one metric we can always work on, which is the sales pipeline. But my North Star is employee happiness. That's, that's kind of built on the culture. That's what cements the team together, and that's what helps us.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then you're clearly a master of efficiency. If you had a magic wand to fix just one thing in the business or businesses that you consult with that's currently slowing down their growth or causing client friction, what would that one thing be?
I would say feedback.
Feedback.
Going to the market faster, not being afraid of failing again. When we built our website at Polar Stork, we took longer than we should, than we would recommend our clients to do. And they always say, the shoemaker has always the worst shoes. It's not just to say, it's really the case. But the magic one would be go out, let it crash, and that's the way you will evolve faster.
Yeah, they do say that you get a lot of good information on how to improve your product from your client services team. So where the clients are, raising tickets, looking at problems, you get a lot of good feedback from those problem tickets where you can then look at building out your product roadmap with those improvements.
That's also that the heart of it is that you're not building a product for yourself as an owner. You're building a product for your customers to use.
Yeah.
You want them to use it so you make money, but the product is not made for you. Whether you like it or not, you might be one person that looks like your customers, like the same persona, but very often it's not the case. So it's important to take that step back and to dive into the cold water and
see what the feedback's like. Take it from there. So that brings us to the end of our podcast. So I just would like to say thank you so much, Chris, for your time today. It has been lovely listening about your company and where you see it going. Is there anything you'd like to add to wrap up the call?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity as well. I look forward to further conversations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks very much, Chris. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye.